Guys, let's get right into it. This video is made in partnership with Kalshi. And what do you know it, Kalshi has a market on whether the UFC will crown a new champion this year. Now, you know me, I don't predict fights, I foretell destinies. And looking at this market, I've got opinions. Here's how it works. If you trade a contract at 45 cents, the market says there's a 45% chance that this happens. If it does, that contract pays out $1, more than doubling your money. Same deal at 60 cents. Market says 60% chance. Put $100 in at 60 cents, you're going to walk out with about $166. At 45 cents, roughly $222. Kalshi flips the script. It's the largest legal prediction market in the United States. Available in all 50 states, and these are real money trades between real people. Kalshi works like the stock market. It matches traders with each other. No VIG, no house edge. No limiting you because you're winning too much. They've got over 1 million users and they facilitated over $2 billion in trades. And get this, Kalshi even pays interest on long-term positions. You can earn before the market even resolves. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anybody that signs up at kalshi.com/Chael. Use the code Chael and trade $100. Go check it out and trade like the bad guy. And still, Volkanovski. So, guys, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand how we got here. And Ariel explained it a couple of times. And Ariel said that Lopes came in on UFC Noche and he had this great fight and went head to head with Canelo and Crawford and therefore was rewarded by the UFC. Now, rewards are very real and you deserve them. If you take a fight on short notice, by example, you're giving an opportunity to somebody who otherwise wouldn't have had a fight, whose opponent fell through, would have gone through a training camp, would have promised fans and an audience that he was going to be there, and then he's not. And so they do their absolute best to keep a card intact. So if you're a short notice guy, there's a number of wonderful things that you're doing that perhaps you wouldn't see it that way. And you get rewarded for that. But none of those things happened in that fight against Jean Silva. And I'm not a hater, by the way. Diego Lopes is one of the good guys of the sport. I'm all for Diego Lopes, but I just didn't get the fight. I didn't get it. I didn't get it because there was nothing controversial in the first fight. There was 5 rounds, and all 5. I challenge you to tell me a title fight. I know that they've happened, but I challenge you to tell me one without looking it up. Tell me one title fight, bring boxing into it. Tell me one title fight where every round went to the same guy, where it went to a decision and every round went to the same guy. There was just nothing that lended towards rematch. And the audience wasn't asking for a rematch. And the first match wasn't like some colossal night of business. And Lopes himself wasn't demanding a rematch that I heard. I'm only sharing. I was confused how we got here. Now, when we got here, it was very clear that Lopes could do better with Volk than he did the first time. Like, Lopes looked a lot better tonight. I don't have the scores for you. As the scores were getting read, I was coming over here and I switched from my TV to my device, but I was focused on the road like a good driver would be. I didn't hear the scores. My son had it 2-2 going into the 5th. My son is 10. I didn't see it that way. I thought maybe Lopes had won a round, and it was the round that the announcers went back and played a slow-mo and showed that there was an actual knockdown. Announcers in UFC and fans in UFC are very common to inform you that if there's a knockdown versus no knockdowns in a round, the guy with the knockdown wins the round. That is a boxing rule. There is nothing about that statement that is true in the UFC, just so you understand. There was a fight, Faber versus Cruz, and Cruz won the fight, but Faber had knocked him down. There was like multiple rounds. It wasn't just one round. There was multiple rounds where Faber had knocked him down, but he lost the round. But there wasn't a controversy on that. I'm just sharing for you, yeah, you can knock a guy down in MMA and not lose the round. But I share that while I don't know the scores, I don't believe tonight was 5-0. And even if it was, which it wasn't, but even if it was, what I'm sharing for you is they were much closer rounds. It was a much more competitive fight. Lopes stepped in the fire. He landed some big shots. Volk is so unique. He really is. He really is. Volk could have been double champion. He might have beaten Islam that first night. I remember that fight, and I remember not knowing. I remember when the decision came in, not knowing. I thought Islam won, but I wasn't bullish on it, and I was leaning in. I was leaning in, listening and watching for that announcement because I didn't know. So, but think about that. Think of how hard that would be. Now Islam is going on. He's setting records. He's up at 170. He's kicking everyone's ass. We're saying Volk beat that guy. Volk might have beat that guy. Volk for sure won 2 rounds from that guy. And one thing that Islam does is he goes harder than everybody else. Islam has a pace, and he goes harder than his opponents can go. Volk does the same thing. I am fully convinced that Volk would have beaten Islam that night if Volk would have relinquished the 45-pound title. I don't think that Volk was committed to 55. I don't know that he was big enough for 55. I know a big part of the story was Volk's diet and putting on size and understanding that he was moving up a division. How much do you want to put on size and how much do you want to move up a division if you know you got to return to 145? I mean, I'm only sharing with you that Volk was so close. He was so close. And think about how great you are. I share this with you because there was a belief that Volk was going to retire. So we didn't understand how we got here. As a community and behind the scenes, nobody has a better answer than me, which is, I don't know why they're rematching. I don't know why Lerone or Murphy or Evloev. I don't know why it was Diego. The best answer I've ever heard is the only answer I've heard, which was given by Ariel Helwani, which I think was a guess. He presented it like it was fact, but I think he was guessing. I don't really understand how fighting Jean Silva, non-short notice, fully prepared, full training camps, that happened to be the same time as Canelo Crawford. I don't really understand how that is serving the company in such a wonderful way. What was believed is that Volk was going to retire. What was believed is they're going to Australia. They're bringing him a favorable opponent so he could go out, he could look good and retire. Now, the UFC simply does not operate that way. They do not have information that a guy's going to retire, keep it from the world, and give him a curtain call against a favorable opponent in his hometown. They don't do any of those 3 things. But we didn't know why else they were making the fight. Like, even though that's like a conspiracy theory, it was kind of the leading theory. Which brings you to the end of the night, waiting for Volk to retire, and I thought he was going to. The way he started talking. By the way, did you see his mom wipe? It's the highlight of the night. His mom came in and like used her shirt to wipe something, her boob fell out. Did you guys see that? It's very funny. So I assume this was his mother. So very, very sweet, very, very sweet, but caught on camera moment. His tone seemed a little like he was going to retire. His tone was very monotone. And I kind of thought it was coming, but you got the traditional removing of the gloves, and he wasn't doing that, but he was very monotone. And then all of a sudden, he calls out Lerone Murphy or Evloev, which, by the way, I have to give Volk credit. I'm a little upset. I'm a little bit angry with Volk right now. For you hardcore listeners of the channel, you'll understand that. But I still have to say what happened, which is he's awesome. And one thing about Volk, he always offers it to the right guy. He tries. He tries when he calls someone out to pay attention to the rankings, to pay attention to who beat who, to pay attention who's calling for him. Like, he tries to take the hardest fight at all time. There's no way around that. The UFC will go do what they'll do and they'll make some matches, but he was down to fight Murphy. I remember when Murphy called him out, he accepted it right away. He thought he was going to fight Evloev. He knew that there was some traction to Pico if he comes in hard and fast. He understood that Pitbull was brought over for the specific reason. Volk fights anybody. And he fights harder than anybody. And he finds a way. And to do that a few times in your life takes a life of work. To be able to do that night after night and turn that into years, and now he's tying Jose Aldo's record. And I'm a little skeptical on that, by the way. I would have to go and look. It's not quite the way I remember it. I think for tying of Jose Aldo's record, I think they're bringing WEC fights into that. I could have that wrong, but I don't even feel like Aldo has been in there as long and as many years and as many times and as many successful defenses as Volk. It's really quite remarkable. If he wanted to retire, we would have all accepted it. But it turns out he doesn't. He wants to fight Evloev or Lerone Murphy.